Welcome back, my gorgeous, good-looking friends. Quick one-off today. This has been gnawing at me and everyone's talking about it. The assassination of Charlie Kirk and the growing feeling this might be a cover-up. I waited a little to let things settle and watch how the story unfolded. Even so, like a lot of people, I'm struggling to accept the FBI's narrative and that Tyler Robinson is the actual shooter. The math just isn't mathing. From the start, there were small, weird details that didn't quite fit. But what really pushed me to dig further was the FBI footage showing someone running across the roof at 12:23 p.m. If Charlie was shot at 12:23 p.m., it seems impossible for the same person to already be on the roof, up and running. To me, that rooftop figure cannot be the shooter. And we shouldn't assume it's Tyler Robinson. I mean, for starters, the clothing doesn't match. I mean, look at what he's wearing in this photo. Compare it to him jumping off the roof. Then there was TMZ releasing the first footage before the FBI publicly identified the suspect. That felt kind of weird. I mean, we've seen how outlets like TMZ have been used to shape narratives in the past, so that timing raised eyebrows for, I think, many of us. Since the assassination, I have been trying to keep up with the updates because this was indeed a tragedy, and I would like to see justice being served. So the last week, I've been following accounts like Ryan Mata, Hustle Bitch, Candace Owens, and Redacted in question as they push back on the official story. I'm not going to rehash everything they've said, but I will highlight a thread I think deserves more attention. Yesterday, Hustle Bitch posted a video about a man named George Zinn. Now, if you don't know who he is, he was the one who falsely cried out that he was the shooter immediately after Charlie was assassinated. That claim, whether intentional or not, bought time for whoever the real shooter might have been. There's been little explanation for Zinn's suspicious behavior, his background, or his political connections. Like, why did he make that false claim? Did he have a motive? Was he working with someone? Did he know what was going to happen that day? I think those are valid, important questions. In Hustle Bitch's posts, he traced George Zinn's presence the moment Charlie Kirk had been assassinated. And like finding a needle in a haystack, he turned up with something worth looking at. Take a look and decide for yourself.
We don't know if it's him or not.
How dare you! 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 The monster! That's a monster! Monster! A monster! How dare you! Back it up! Back it up! How dare you! How dare you! You freaking monster! Yes!
I said he shot him, but I don't know.
So, George was clearly up to something that day, and I've got to say, this doesn't look like the work of a lone, impulsive shooter. If Tyler Robinson is even a real person here, I mean, when you see him over Zoom and looking like an avatar, you have to question everything. But I strongly suspect he's being set up. To me, this reads like a coordinated, sophisticated assassination with a cover-up unfolding afterwards. Again, that's my opinion, and nothing I say here is proof. So I took that hustle bitch clip, and I kept digging. And I found more weird, shady stuff, like real fuckery, that I think deserves attention. We'll circle back to that video in a bit, but let's rewind to the beginning, to when this tragedy first happened. There was a guy on campus that day who immediately drew attention on X, and for understandable reasons. He just didn't blend in with the student body. I mean, clearly he looked a little too styled for Utah. People compared him to the foreign professional assassins you see in movies. At the time, viewers thought he might be wearing a glove on one hand and notice what looked like a rifle strap hanging out of his bag. Later, it came out that he's an amputee, and what people saw was his prosthetic, a bionic hand. According to him, he was questioned by federal agents for 3 hours and then released. Since then, he's been publicly defending himself across X and Instagram, and he even gave an interview to the New York Times, which I want to read to you now because, so you can see here, it says, people got down in waves, a witness's account of the Charlie Kirk shooting. Andrew Piscadlo, who estimated that he was about 80 feet away when the shooting happened, and the crack of the shot was not heard by all. So that's important. He was 80 feet away from Charlie Kirk. The article begins. Andrew Piscadlo was standing in the middle of the campus amphitheater on Wednesday waiting to debate Charlie Kirk about the Eighth Amendment when a single shot rang out. It was surprising, and no one really got down until the people in the front of the stage did, Mr. Piscadlo, 28, of Salt Lake City, said in a phone interview. People got down in waves. He had been in line at a campus event at Utah Valley University, waiting to speak to and debate Mr. Kirk, as students typically do in the so-called Prove Me Wrong debates with Mr. Kirk, a right-wing activist, hosts. Mr. Piscadlo, who estimated that he was about 80 feet away, recalled that Mr. Kirk had been responding to a question about transgender mass shooting suspects at some point before he was shot. When the shot rang out, he said he dropped first but did not run. He said he did not see Mr. Kirk get shot. He estimated that the shooting occurred just minutes after the program began, shortly after noon local time. Mr. Piscadlo, who said he was active in Utah politics, said the setup of the amphitheater struck him as unsafe before the event. Despite a heavy security presence, he noticed there were a lot of ledges, points where this could happen, he said. This seemed really preventable. I'm kind of angry at the organizers. When the shot rang out, he said he saw people starting to get down and take cover. The crack of the shot wasn't nearly as pronounced, he said, which may explain why not everyone in the crowd dropped immediately. I'm just hoping Charlie is okay, Mr. Piscadlo said. So I'm hoping a couple of things have jumped out at you. At least one thing jumped out at you, which was at the very end, with him saying, I hope Charlie is okay. So this interview was given over the phone to the New York Times before it was even announced that Charlie had passed away. So let me ask you this question. How did the New York Times get a hold of this guy? So here we have this random guy walking around Utah Valley University looking like a movie assassin doing an interview with the New York Times immediately after Charlie Kirk gets shot. It's going to get weirder, folks. Stick with me. So 6 days later, Andrew goes ahead and posts on X, writing, my first statement on the Charlie Kirk political assassination and political terrorism at TPUSA. I was 25 meters, otherwise 80 feet, to Charlie's right. We all witnessed evil then. Now what? Who's responsible? How do we find them? I want Mrs. Erica Kirk and Charlie's kids and family to hear me first. And he had put a 2-minute video. And the only thing I can say about that 2-minute video is that it's just weird. So what's important about this post is that he's given the actual position of where he was in relation to this assassination. And he's saying that he was 80 feet to Charlie's right. In this thread, he then writes this post where he says, when I got to UVU around 10:20-ish and walked into the amphitheater, it didn't feel good. I saw all the ledges. I saw where Charlie would be speaking. I felt like I was getting ready to witness another Butler. Did you really feel that? I mean, I don't know about you. When I look at this and the sunshine and the mountains in the background and the grass is green, just looking at this photo, I'm thinking, wow, look how fun that looks. I'm not thinking, oh, there's going to be a mass shooting today. What a weird and cynical thing to say. Unless... ... Now, within this thread, the next 5 posts is a bunch of rambling. He goes on talking about how he was teaching many college courses as a TA. He then goes into talking about J.D. Vance and him being groomed as a presidential candidate. Finally, he gets to the moment where he shows everybody exactly where he was standing when Charlie came out. But the whole tone of it feels very cynical. He writes here, when we got to the moment when Charlie came out, it was more akin to a rock concert than a Q&A. All the ledges had people and so did the windows. Charlie could draw a crowd. The entire setup felt like a death trap for Charlie. Now, I don't know what the political temperature is in the state of Utah, but it can't be as bad as it is here in New York. The last thing that I would be thinking if I was in that crowd of young people all getting ready to see Charlie Kirk is being excited and happy and not having to be in class listening to a lecture. But in any case, look at where he is positioned. For one, I can't tell if that was 80 feet away from it, but pay attention to who's directly in front of him. You can see the one person that I want to point out to you is the guy wearing the gray cap. Keep your eye on the guy with the gray cap. You can see he's very tall and easy to spot. So in the next post, there is that guy again, and there is where we're supposed to believe Andrew is standing. He writes here saying, everything I said moments after the event to the investigators, we met quickly because of my camera strap, and during the event has been consistent. I highlighted that transgender mass shooter question because it sounded like Charlie was being set up. These lunatics are dramatic. What cooler way to ice Charlie, brah, than if he was saying something about mass shooters? That will show those dumb Trumpers. We've left hurty words and moved into high-powered rifles. Does it scare you? I'll volunteer. It terrifies me. I was predicting their behavior in real time after working near leftists a long time. I saw a prediction morph into a bullet that took Charlie's life in front of me. So about now, at this point, you're probably feeling a little suspicious of this guy because it's like he's almost overselling the fact that he predicted that something bad was going to happen to Charlie. So here we have this photo of the event. He's saying that it's his photo. And he goes on to double down on Instagram, telling everybody that he has the metadata and really going through these big lengths to show everybody that he was there. He was in that spot. And the person that you see sticking out in all these photos is the tall guy with the gray cap. So, was he really standing there? That's the next question that has come to my mind immediately. So I said, well, let me go check all the photos for this side of the event to see if he's really standing there. Because you remember in the beginning, I showed you the photo of what he looked like. He pretty much sticks out like a sore thumb. He's wearing this blazer jacket, white shirt, tie. I mean, he would be easy to spot in the crowd. So I went ahead on Getty Images first to see if I could find a clear picture of the crowd that day. And sure enough, I found one image. There weren't multiple images. One image that just so happens to be the exact location to where Andrew said he was standing. And what luck. It does appear he was standing there. You know, it's clear you can see the tall guy with the gray cap, and right behind him, which is where these photos apparently were taken, is Andrew. Now, if there's anything that we have learned from Meghan Markle, is that the media outlets are not completely honest. And we have seen in the past Getty putting up photos of the royals that have been digitally altered. Now, I'm not saying that this photo, this one and only clear photo of the crowd that day, is altered. I'm just saying we should not look at just one source. We should look at multiple sources just to confirm that this guy really did take these photos and he was really standing there, to be on the safe side. The Daily Caller is the only other place where I found clear photos of this side. While there's no timestamp as to when this photo was taken, we can assume that this photo was taken as the event was underway. You can see Charlie sitting there, as well as a student at the mic, as well as Hunter Kozak, who was the person that asked his very last question before this tragedy happened. So we know that the event is underway. When you look at the positioning of where Andrew had stated he was standing when the assassination happened, and you look a little closer, especially using the tall guy with the gray cap, Andrew is a bit hard to find. We know that he was standing in this general area. You can see pretty much everybody else that was in the Getty image that we saw previously, but we don't see anyone distinctly wearing aviator sunshades, wearing a jacket and white or blue shirt and tie. Here's a video that I found on Facebook from the actual spot where Andrew's supposed to be standing. As you can see, all the same people that are in the photo. The guy with the gray cap, you see the tall woman wearing purple, you see the short woman, black hair and plaid shirt. She was the one in the Getty picture, appeared to be the one that guy Andrew was talking to. But where's Andrew? Well, Andrew on September 17th gives us a little more information. Maybe a little too much information. He writes, "There are real questions about the origins of the shot. I put this up on my Instagram last night. I do not believe at this time that the rifle found in the woods is the same one that Tyler Robinson allegedly used to shoot Charlie, unless someone else boxed it up and brought it down, which raises all sorts of other questions that I already have." Pay close attention now. "I'm part of a tight-knit community of competitive shooters in Utah that includes experienced gunsmiths, former violent crimes FBI agents, and use of force expert witnesses. Mausers are such a pill to disassemble. Even if he was Superman and tore it in light speed, as our resident gunsmith expert points out verbatim, quote-unquote, even if it was disassembled, the barreled action would have been sticking out of his backpack by at least 12 inches and would have been seen in the video. It takes me like 15 minutes to disassemble a bolt-action rifle from the stock, and I'm a gunsmith." I like the answer. I don't know. I need to research more. I want clean information that we can all use to get to the heart of the matter. I don't know what rifle was used on the roof. I have a high degree of confidence in he wasn't carrying this rifle off the roof in his backpack. Damn, what is next? A sound map and using blood spatter guided fluid dynamics to determine the shot origin. I've had several people ask me, where do I think the shot came from? I was up against along the wall, waiting in line, 25 meters or 80 feet from Charlie Wright. This is in a bowl or amphitheater with hard sides. The first sound I heard was Charlie's neck getting hit. This is how I knew he was dead. Soft targets, when hit by a high-velocity round, all makes the same thwap sound. Because I was close to Charlie and sound travels at 343 meters per second, I heard his neck getting shot first. Then I heard the crack plus echo. Nick, nick, nick. What this tells me is whoever was firing the shot was further away from me than I was to Charlie. We need to create a sound map and analyze the audio using Adobe Audition or similar software with each person's position noted, and we can then figure out how far the shooter is. We know the speed of sound, 343 meters per second. We know the entire layout of this event. Everyone's position is documented and often with geotagging. I'm going to make a 3D rendering of the whole amphitheater and surrounding buildings. It is too difficult to visualize if I have to look at a lot of cell phone video. We can therefore determine where the shot came from. This is the next step. Please email me URLs, social media, or the video files themselves and where they were taken, ideally, of different angle videos to the tip email. This will take me weeks with how much I have to do with my own research. So anyone who makes it easier by me not having to hunt for footage, much appreciated. I will upload sorted audio plus location data so everyone can use it. The GitHub can only handle so much. If the file is compressed, you may request the full size from me. And he gives his email. Now, on the surface, this sounds all well-meaning, one of these truth and justice seekers. But when you look at all the detail that he has put into this, especially the part where he was very specific on where exactly he was standing. I was up against a long wall waiting in line, 25 meters or 80 feet from Charlie, right. Now, I think this statement is a little problematic for him now. Now, remember, Andrew told the New York Times that he was waiting in line to debate Charlie Kirk on the Eighth Amendment. So now we know that that line that he's referring to is the same line where he is supposed to be standing up against the wall before Charlie gets assassinated. Now, I don't know how they set up the queue to debate with Charlie, but you can see Hunter Kozak down on the floor, and I have seen in the past that the line is usually in the same area. Now, I don't know how they set up the line for this event. Perhaps maybe they were moving the gate every time someone was about to go debate to then go stand in like the holding area where Hunter Kozak is standing. I don't know. So the only way that we can validate this is, we don't see him anywhere at the bottom down there, is to see if he was indeed standing up against the wall around this time when he was about to so-called debate Charlie. So I went and dug really deep, and I was fortunate to find this video taken at 12:20 p.m., 3 minutes before Charlie was assassinated, which, for sure, if this guy was truly waiting in line, he definitely would be there at 12:20. Am I right? Check this video out. So if he's saying he's up against the wall and that's where the line is, does anybody see a guy who's wearing aviator sunglasses, a black jacket, white-collared shirt and tie? Does anybody see anyone remotely wearing something like that? I know I'm not seeing it. That's supposed to be the wall, and it is to Charlie's right. I don't see Andrew standing anywhere in that cluster. If we go back to the cluster with the tall guy in the gray cap and the woman wearing the purple shirt, for reference, because this is kind of like Finding Waldo, the woman's thumb, you can see right there is the woman wearing the purple shirt, and in front of her is the tall guy with the gray cap. Do you see anyone wearing a tie and a jacket and a white-collared shirt? I think it's pretty noticeable out of this sea of t-shirts, I would think. But in any case, who's to say that this was the actual line? I don't think it was. I think the line was down on the floor where Hunter Kozak is. And as you can see, he's down there. But it doesn't matter because he's saying that he is to Charlie's right, standing up against the wall, and we're looking at it, and he's nowhere to be found. In addition, he just got done writing this very descriptive post about the sounds he heard when Charlie was hit. Notice he didn't talk about seeing Charlie actually get hit. The question is, if you were standing so close to Charlie, how come you didn't say you saw it? I don't see him anywhere in that sea of people. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Looking at the video and the photos, he's nowhere to be found, especially right before the assassination. Something's really off with this guy, especially the amount of detail that he has been going into, as well as it's almost like he wants to be this gatekeeper of information and controlling this narrative, whatever this narrative is that's developing. Which now brings me back to this video that was done by Hustle Bitch. Now, when you watch it, it looks as if George Zinn was collaborating or getting together with the kid who's wearing a black t-shirt and khaki pants and a white backpack, and then this other dark figure who is completely in head-to-toe black. It does look, from the way that we're seeing the video, as if they were all congregating together and then going off into separate directions. So this little part from the time that Charlie Kirk was assassinated to just this part where they separated was around 40 seconds. I mean, it was really quick. And Candace Owens, I think 2 nights ago, did a podcast and showed she found a clearer picture of what was happening here with these 2 students. Take a look.
After the shot rings out, and we're going to watch this, he's gonna get up, and people are dispersing everywhere, and he kind of calmly gets up and starts making his way down that stadium. You can see that here. We have the light on him, and his pants fall down by themselves. You can see that his pants did not, like, we were kind of working under the assumption that his pants fell down because, I don't know, the police were pulling him, but that's actually incorrect. They just fall down all by themselves, and you can see that a young man comes by to try to assist him. Okay, so has nothing to do with the arrest. Now, to be clear, when we see him sort of making his way down those stairs, we can actually approximate.
Now let's watch this again with that perspective. Now, on the surface, we have an old man whose pants have fallen down, and we have this student who, it does appear, turned in a genuine way to help him get back up. But the question that I have for you guys is, do you think there's something more to this? Right before the event started, you could see George Zinn walking back and forth talking to various people. Don't know if he was just being friendly, but you can see him going towards a couple of students and saying some things. What's very interesting is when Charlie Kirk had been shot, George Zinn was one of the first ones to stand up and started to draw attention to himself. You can see it right here.
There's been a shooting. We heard shots.
That's when we saw him then proceed to make his way downward and his pants fall. Now, was that intentional to create a distraction, whether it be to signal to the kid in the pit that there he is, and perhaps maybe having a couple of words with him? I don't know. But it all feels very coordinated, because the kid that he was talking to with the khaki pants and the black shirt and the, I want to say, white backpack, communicating with the very dark figure that was coming down into the pit.
Hey, love you. Be safe.
Apparently there's been a shooting.
They take off, and George Zinn puts his hand in his pocket while the kid with the backpack heads on up and shifts his position until he is directly in front of, or going towards, a man who is wearing a black jacket, a white collared shirt, a tie, and a crossbody bag. Does that look familiar to anybody? Now, I wanted to make sure that my eyes were not deceiving me and that I was not falsely accusing this person of being Andrew. So I went and I dug for another angle and view. And guess what? I found it. And here it is. Now, this video I pulled came from Phil Lyman, who is a former member of the House of Representatives representing Utah.
See where that came from? It was right here, wasn't it?
It was like over here.
Yeah. You see where that came from? It was right here, wasn't it?
It was like over here.
Yeah.
Now, if you didn't catch this, let me go ahead and slow it down for you. Look who's coming around the corner. And watch his behavior as he's gingerly walking along the perimeter of this amphitheater, looking out. Not sure what he's looking at, but he's looking for something. And then he walks to where I showed you in the previous clip, to being directly in front of this kid who is wearing khakis, black shirt, and white backpack, as they do end up crossing paths. Now, I don't know if that's a coincidence or should be something that we should be concerned about. I do find it interesting that the last photo that he took just so happened to be George Zinn about to get hauled off to jail. That's George Zinn right there, falsely confessing that he's the shooter. Isn't it interesting that he is the one to catch that moment? What are the odds? I'm not saying that this guy is the shooter. I don't have any evidence of that. I just find it extremely weird that not only does he know a lot about guns, but he was able to describe in detail what happened to Charlie. And now we heard from Candace Owens stating that she had received a tip saying this.
Very much, and maybe this is a poor way of saying it, a straight shooter said, yes, I have training. And I don't want to give too many identifying details here, but this person himself has a lot of experience with guns and knows guns and, helps to train people in that sort of a capacity, and said that they observed that individual, the FBI saying that the shooter dropped onto the roof at 12:15 didn't make sense to him. He said earliest it was 12:22. That the individual ran across, set up, took the shot. And I said, well, you must have been there, because he then sends me I wanted to see all of the metadata of when he took that footage. And the metadata begins at 12:22 and goes into 12:23, the very minute that Charlie gets shot. And he says, yeah, I saw the shot. I had just stopped recording about 20 seconds before the shot rang out. And he said that he told them a description of what the shooter looked like. And it was not the description that the entire world received less than 24 hours later of this person, Tyler Robinson, wearing jeans. I said, was he wearing jeans? He said, no. Actually, this person was dressed in tactical gear and he was wearing a face mask. And he said, according to him, and like I said, he has a lot of experience with guns, that this person looked to him like a foreign agent. I don't know if he's wearing all black, how he got that, but he said he was very certain that this person was skilled, knew exactly what he was doing, and was highly trained, like a highly trained assassin, so to speak. Okay. He then says something else. As soon as George Zinn got arrested and that started circulating, he ran to someone on campus and said, this is the wrong person. I observed this person with my eyes. You have the complete wrong description. The person you're looking for is wearing tactical gear and is obviously young because I watched him sprint back after taking the shot. I saw this with my own 2 eyes. And for whatever reason, that never made its way out that we can see of a description of a person wearing tactical gear. We're kind of left with this idea that he was wearing the now infamous veterans shirt with the American flag on it and some jeans. So he also said something that we had not heard, which is that he knows guns, and the gun that the FBI found was not the gun that he saw, that the gun that he saw was smaller. And I'm going to read you directly a text message that he sent me, again, protecting his identity. He said, watching the video of the impact, hearing the sharp crack instead of a big hunting rifle's boom, and seeing what looked like a shorter rifle platform, albeit with the absence of the shape of a standard 30-round magazine, the assassin may have used a 10 or 20-round magazine, only expecting to shoot once or twice. I would guess that he was shot with a Hornady V Max or similar lightweight 223 bullet designed for very rapid expansion. Of course, I don't have access to any autopsy reports like you might, but if they found small shards of copper rather than one large copper-coated lead slug, that's the gun and bullet I would expect was used.
There is a picture on Andrew's Instagram of him wearing a gun just like this on his waist. I don't know if it means anything or if it's just a coincidence again, but if you want to check it out, by all means, go for it. I think many of you can agree that there's a lot of inconsistencies and oddities with this assassination. And I do not believe that this is the work of a lone gunman shooter, Tyler Robinson. I don't even think that Tyler Robinson committed the act, and I think there's something bigger going on here. This absolutely had lots of coordination, many parties involved. It's just a question of who. A big red flag here for me with this guy is him doing this phone interview with the New York Times before it was even announced that Charlie Kirk was dead. Like, why would the guy say, I hope he's okay? I'm guessing it's because this was done before it was announced that he passed away. Explain to me, how did the New York Times get this random person out of 3,000 that were there on campus? Look, we all know that the New York Times is dirty. Just look at their relationship with Harry and Meghan and the Hunter Biden laptop story, okay? Now, in my opinion, this is not some random shooter that had been indoctrinated on social media and why we need to put guardrails in place. This is definitely the work of, who I'm talking about, the globalists, those evil satanic globalists. But I'm not going to say any more. I don't know what the deal is with this guy. I don't plan on going further with this because there's just yuck all over it. In my opinion, this is JFK 2.0. The way everything has been handled, none of it makes any kind of sense. And, quite frankly, it's disappointing. But this is where we're at. I'm going to leave you with this TikTok video that does open up a whole new can of worms that, I don't know, maybe one of you want to go down. But check it out and let me know what you think. As always, I will be back with more content. But until then, please be safe, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.
By the day. I think at this point, we can all agree that something's just off with this whole thing, no matter how you feel about it. And I definitely have some more weird things to show you. You ready? Now, I'm sure pretty much everybody on the planet knows who this man is, Tyler Robinson. Now, there's 100 different scenarios surrounding this kid, but like I said, I got some weird things to show you. This is a picture of his family. Notice anything weird about it? How about this one? And here's another. Why is he always on the outside? And why does he look like he's not even a part of the group? Now, you remember the governor of Utah, right? This guy?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We got him.
Now that man is Spencer Cox. This is the guy that put a stop to anything political on college campuses, including UVU, where this all went down. Now remember from my last video, this woman, the president of UVU, Astrid. The one that was doing research at the Belfer Center on all those interesting topics. Now, I showed you she was there because she was a consultant for the Carnegie Corporation in New York. And guess who else is involved with the Carnegie Corporation? He's actually recently taken in some pretty hefty donation from the Carnegie Corporation. So that's Spencer Cox that's involved with the Carnegie Corp, as well as Astrid. And then UVU is recognized as the Opportunity College by Carnegie. Well, remember Tyler Robinson, the kid that doesn't look like he fits in with this family? Well, let me introduce you to the chair of the board of trustees at Carnegie, Janet Robinson. And not only is that an interesting last name, but her personal life is like non-existent. No husband, no kids. She was known as the nanny at work because that's all she ever seemed to do was work. And what was her job at that time? She was the co-CEO of the New York Times. That was until 2011 where she mysteriously and unexpectedly stepped down as CEO. Or fired, depending on who you ask. But the big question is, why did they give her $24 million for doing it? Now, there was a ton of allegations and people wondering why this happened, but really nobody knows. One of the rumors is she got involved with one of the family members that owns the New York Times, and she needed some time off. And if you made it this far in the video, this is where I give you some homework. Go look and see exactly what family owns the New York Times. And then ask yourself, does this kid really belong here? Stay safe. This whole thing, it's just getting weirder by the day.